Get rid of that. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Let's Hash It, episode number 7 for the week of March 3rd, 2016. I'm your host, Jay Lewis, and joining me today is a man that helped me work on this podcast for 4 solid hours yesterday, Nathan Hodge. What's up, Nate?
What's going on, everyone?
Just another day in paradise, still on vacation, but it's, I got another 2 days left, so it's rounding out, and then it's back to work for me, but it's all good. I got a lot done on my vacation, and enjoyed it quite a bit. Got a lot to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a new segment today, and we're going to do it at the top of every month, where we're going to do a buyer's guide for that particular month, and we're going to talk about the big games of that month, where you should spend your money, and just the way that month will be shaping up. On this month, we got quite a bit of games to talk about, but before that, let's get into some top news. The first thing that I wanted to talk about this week was PS4 announced that it will be having an update known as the 3.50 update. And I would say that this is the first significant update in quite a while we're getting for the PS4. Do you agree with that, Nate?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's get right into it then. We're going to be receiving 5 new updates, and what we'll do is we'll go one by one and discuss each one, and I'll get your opinion on it. Very first one I want to talk about. Friend online notification. Want to know the moment your friends come online? With this update, you can, as we've added an option to be notified when members of your friends list sign in to the network. Notifications can be tailored to certain friends. So that one right off the bat is something that we had on the PS3, and it's a feature that a lot of people were wondering, like, where it's at, like, why we didn't get it until this moment. And I'd have to agree, like, it's something that I definitely wanted. It's kind of annoying to be playing a game and you're wondering when such and such is going to get on and you don't get that notification. Like, that's something I definitely missed. I don't understand why it took so long to get that update. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that seems so basic. I can't believe it wasn't in there in the first place.
Yeah, that's extremely strange. Care to speculate as to why it took so long?
I couldn't even begin to imagine why. Maybe they just didn't feel it was important. Who knows?
Yeah, I know. The second one, and this is another big feature, and this is a huge feature for me. Like, when I'm trying to play a game and not get bothered and not get invitations and, things of that nature, it's appear offline. Sometimes you want to play a game or watch a movie without being interrupted. Now it's easier to go incognito, as we've added the option to appear offline. You can You can designate if you would like to appear offline when you log in or at any time from your profile or the quick menu. So, thoughts on that?
That is something I would definitely use.
I could definitely see you using that. Yeah, it's like, I'm trying to play Metal Gear Solid, leave me the hell alone.
Or watch a movie or something and just not want to be interrupted. Because those pop-ups that come up really can take you out of the experience and even, like, obstruct gameplay. Like, I think I failed a mission because I got one of those notifications, and it, like, completely screwed me up because it blocked so much of the screen during a critical moment.
Oh,
So, yeah, I could see myself using that.
Yeah, definitely. Back on the PS3 era, when I had more of my friends and family on my friends list, like, I would definitely have to appear offline whenever I was going to play a game, because a lot of times I'd be playing video games in my living room and I'd have my wife sitting right next to me, and I didn't want to be bothered by getting in, chat rooms and, I just didn't want to get bothered, basically. So that's definitely a key feature that I was missing out on. And that's another one that, again, it was back on the PS3. So why that wouldn't have been on the PS4 day one is beyond me. You figure just be copy and paste, right? Like,
You'd think so.
very strange, very strange. Nonetheless, we have it coming, so that's good news. The next one I want to talk about is user scheduled events. Now it's easier to organize a game session. We've added the ability to schedule a future gameplay session with your friends on the system. When your event starts, users who registered for the event will automatically be added to a party so you can start playing right away. So, what are your thoughts on that? I kind of think that's pretty cool, but what do you think?
It is kind of interesting. I'm kind of thinking about how exactly this is going to work. So I guess, let's use Destiny as an example. You'll
Right,
be
perfect
on
example. That's what I was gonna say. If you
be
want to get
on
like a raid
Destiny,
team,
right, and you schedule it for a certain time, and it would like automatically sign you into that fire team at that time, I guess.
no, I don't think it's gonna sign you into the game itself. Because I mean, say you don't have the game loaded in your PS4. I think what it'll do is it'll just put you in a party, like a chat, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, because it says users who registered for the event will automatically be added to your party, so you can start playing right away.
Okay, yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on that? Because like
That seems pretty cool.
yeah, I was gonna say like, say that you and four of your closest friends are like, hey, on Friday at 5 o'clock, you guys want to go do a raid, and like everyone's like, yeah, I'm totally down. So then like the raid leader could be like, oh, all right, I'm gonna schedule an event, and it'll prompt everybody to join up on the chat. Like I think it'd be really cool too that say you're not even on your PlayStation 4, if you could, because you can get the PlayStation 4 app on your cell phone. Like it'd be really neat if it'd send that notification to your cell phone. I wonder if they're going to implement that. I'd be willing to bet they will be implementing that.
Right, yeah.
Because for me, somebody that has wearable tech, even if I don't have my cell phone sitting right next to me, like PlayStation 4 app actually gives me notifications right to my watch, dude. How rad is that?
That is pretty rad.
Yeah, like it blew me away the first time it happened. Like I was at work and my watch vibrates to let me know that I have a notification. So I look and it has the PlayStation 4 app logo and I'm like, "Huh, what's this?" And then so I look at my watch and it was somebody that like I guess they watched one of my streams and they friend requested me and then left a message saying like, "Hey, I watched one of your streams. Add me," and like it went to my watch. I'm like, I was blown away, dude. I was like, "Oh my god, that's so rad!" So hopefully, yeah, they do something like that with this scheduled event thing. So now the next thing I want to talk about, and this to me is like the Mac Daddy of all five of these updates, and this is Remote Play to PC or Mac. We're bringing PS4 Remote Play to Windows PC and Mac. The feature won't be available to test in the beta, but you can look forward to it soon. So, before I tell you my thoughts, because we all know I'm ecstatic, what are your thoughts?
It seems like a pretty neat feature, although I'll probably never use it. I can definitely see the utility in it, though. I can see the value in it.
Yeah, like for me, the biggest thing that I'm hype about is when I'm going to lay down in bed and, I have that, say, 30, 45 minutes before I'm actually going to fall asleep, that usually I would spend just, you know, reading something or, watching a quick little episode in my bed. And I'm not a big TV guy to begin with, so I would love to be able to just set my laptop, right in my lap and just grab my DualShock 4 and be able to stream, remote play right to my Surface Pro. Like, you do not know how hype I am for this, and it's something that I've been waiting for so long, dude. Like, I cannot wait. Bro, think about it. If you gotta go drop a deuce and like you don't want to stop playing, you could just bring your laptop to the bathroom with you and just continue on.
That is definitely an option there.
Oh man. Now the last thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, and I think I need to mention that the Xbox One has had this feature for quite some time. And my really good buddy Pedro Mirabal over on the Xbox One, he says that if the PS4's version of Remote Play to PC is anywhere near as good as the Xbox One, then we're in for a treat because he says it works really, really good on Xbox One and he uses it quite a bit. So figure I'd just throw that in there. Um, the last one, Daily Motion, new service partner and share feature. Daily Motion, an additional live streaming service, will become available for PS4 users to enhance their broadcast experience. Like other live streaming services available on PS4, users will enjoy the following features: activity feed, what's new broadcast info tile, live detail, and live from PlayStation. So let's unpack this. What do you think?
Um, I don't know what to think about that. You might have to explain a few of those to me.
Yeah, I'm having trouble myself kind of really figuring out. All right, let's do this on a case by case basis. All right, so um, like other streaming services available on PS4, users will enjoy the following feature: activity feed. So I'm guessing that maybe if you have people like that you follow that stream, maybe in your activity feed it'll show you like what each of those persons have done, like, you know what I mean, like while you were away. I would guess activity feed. Yeah, that must be it. It must just be telling you what, like, all your active users that you follow have been doing.
Yeah.
Then the next one is what's new broadcast info tile. So I'm assuming that's just telling you like basically what's new, like how, the new features that are coming to it and things of that nature. Do you
Right,
think?
yeah.
And then live detail and live from PlayStation. I wonder if that's like PlayStation's way of like feeding information to users, like, they're going to use this Daily Motion in order to, speak to PlayStation Nation. Maybe that's coming directly from PlayStation. That's what I get when I read it. Live detail live from PlayStation. So I'm guessing it's like their own little channel. You think?
Yeah. It yeah, it sounds like it, I guess.
That's kind of neat because
PlayStation News.
yeah, that's kind of neat because then maybe it like covers like stuff in their blog and just like games that are coming and like they do it in video format. That's kind of rad, dude. Like it'll definitely help us, It'll help us cover the PlayStation news because then I could just check out their quick stream and see what's going on. So yeah, those are the five new updates coming to the PlayStation 4. What's your favorite of these five?
The appearing offline option, I think I'll get a lot of use out of.
Yeah, I think mine's definitely the remote play. Um, the only thing I'd say that I was hoping for in this update, but I'm not gonna bitch because all five of these sound really cool. But I'm still waiting for that, USB hard drive option so I can have an external hard drive. But
Oh my God, that would be so great.
yeah, because I am in desperate need of some space. Um, I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what the holdup is, but I mean, it is easy to put a new hard drive inside your PS4, so I mean, I guess I should stop being a baby and just go ahead and do it. But I have heard horror stories, and I don't want to ruin my PS4. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's yeah, I don't even want to try to attempt to do something like that.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is over on the Xbox side of things, and it's a little article that Phil Spencer talks about the Xbox One hardware being upgradable. So I don't really want to read the article because more or less, he doesn't talk about what that future actually looks like. He just said that, to paraphrase him, he basically says that consoles don't really evolve with like PC tech, and usually a console will run out and it'll be relevant for about 7 years, and then you just upgrade your console. So in 7 years, you don't really see any enhancements to the console itself. So he goes on to talk about how he believes that I don't I don't think believes is the way to say it. The Xbox One's future is in like upgradable hardware. So what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it sounds cool in concept, but I really don't like this idea. Um, the thing I like about consoles is that it's a machine that works out of the box and requires no putting together. And when you get to the point where you want to start adding things to your console and make it upgradable, then you have to have more tech-savvy consumers in order to keep up with technology. So I believe it would alienate a good section of casual gamers to know that, you're going to get an Xbox, but you're going to have to either take it in or get someone else to upgrade it or continue to do work on it to keep up with the standards of gamings that are coming out. And then we might have different tiers of video games at some point. Like, say all the AAA titles only run on the latest upgradable components of the Xbox One. So, you'll have an Xbox, but you might not be able to play the best games available for your system anymore without constantly updating the console.
Right, because I mean, at this point in next gen, we're seeing that they're making barely any games for last gen because they just can't run it. I mean, the tech's just not there. So I agree with what you're saying that if you update your Xbox One to the point that, the standard Xbox One can't run it, then yeah, you're alienating your own audience from those games. And again, to hit on what you just said, like if you're not tech savvy and you're not, I guess the word would be kind of like ballsy enough to try and, update the tech yourself, then you're just locked out of those games. Like, I don't think that's okay. And something that I find very interesting is that what's made PS4 sell so well and how it's kind of dominated. I don't want to say dominated because the Xbox One's outselling the 360, which sold really well. So it's not like the Xbox One's struggling, but it is getting outsold 2-1 on the PS4, and I think that's largely in part because like during their E3 announcement, their weird messaging about what the console actually was, like, turned people away, and that's why a lot of people switched over to the PS4. So I almost feel like what you're doing is you're making those E3 mistakes all over again because now you're making things even more complicated because now it's going to turn into that, oh, so I'm going to need to update graphics cards or sound cards, and how do I even open my Xbox One in the first place? And if I do so, is that going to, void my warranty? Because some of these people are going to just be getting an Xbox One, still have that manufacturer's warranty. So if they go opening up their Xbox One to replace something, they just voided their warranties. And it just seems like you're making the Xbox One like just confusing all over again.
Yeah, is this going to be a PC in the long run? I mean, what's the difference between getting a PC and then getting an Xbox One at that point?
I'm glad you said that because let me read this paragraph. In a speech to reporters, he said that the Xbox One could see a future in which it is upgraded rather than replaced by new consoles. Spencer was talking about how Microsoft has sought to align its Windows 10 and Xbox One development activities under the internal Universal Windows platform while offering backwards compatibility for many Xbox 360 games now playable on Xbox One. He was addressing the concerns of some Xbox One owners that the exclusives designed or destined for that console are appearing on PC, thus eroding the value of owning a console. What are your thoughts on that? I kind of
Well,
I kind of agree. I mean, like you buy a console a lot of times because you're like, hey, this game I can only play Halo 5 on Xbox One. Well, now you're kind of getting rid of that. Like now you're diluting the brand of Xbox. Like now if you just get a Windows PC that is capable of playing, next gen games, now all those exclusives are going to show up on PC. So,
yeah, that does hurt the console itself and the very idea of, being in the video game business, aside from just being in like the PC business.
yeah.
But it's just, I don't think it's a good move. I really don't think it's a good move for consumers. I think them stating that 7-year lifespans for these consoles is too long to keep up with tech. I mean, or too short. The problem is that the manufacturers could say that, we're going to continue to support consoles for 10 years and do it in 10-year cycles because many people still play their PlayStation 3s today. And if it were another 10 years before we got the PlayStation 5, I think a lot of people would continue to play PlayStation 4 without really needing the PlayStation 5 if, that is a thing. But, I think there's a lot of artificiality around this concept of, tech has to be upgraded quickly, it has to keep up with, what we can do. I mean, a lot of that stuff is malleable and, you know, we can just be satisfied with what we have until we make another giant step. So I don't think upgradable consoles is really a good way to go, I guess.
Yeah. Um, I want to get your take on this. Before the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, a lot of people speculated that console sales would start to diminish, and a lot of people thought, before this gen came out, that people were going to start like turning on to PC gaming rather than console gaming, and they thought it was going to start to die. But that's in fact not been the true, as the PS4 specifically has outsold pretty much every console that's ever came out. And I think in the long run, it probably will be the best selling console there ever was. So, do you think that this is the signs that Xbox One's trying to like do some forward thinking, and that they believe that next gen gaming is going to be done on PC rather than console? Do you think that they think that's where we're headed? That there will be no PS5s and there will be no Xbox 2s? Do you think that's why they're doing this?
Well, I really think they're doing this, and you're right, it is because they're trying to look outside the box of what the future of gaming is, but I think it's also about creating a viable business model. Like, these companies generally lose money on the console itself and then make it back up in software. So it might be just a way of them trying to find a way to make the business practice, more profitable for them. But if you look, at the PlayStation 4 sales, it's obvious to say that people like traditional gaming. The Xbox One tried to do a lot of stuff new, and it scared away a lot of their consumer base, and they went to PlayStation 4 because that's where modern gaming is at right now. And it's just, people want to have a controller in their hand and have a box that'll just work and not have to worry about all those other technical aspects. So,
Right. Um, do you think that in the future, like let's say next gen, do you think that Xbox should just not put out a console and just, make a gaming PC basically, and like have that be their new Xbox line, just a PC? You think that'd be smart for
I
them to do?
I do not. I mean, they can do it, but I think it will like seal the coffin on them as being, a big player in the video game industry.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to that you want to add to that little subject?
Uh, yeah, let's not do what the Genesis did and start adding a 32X and a Sega CD and all this crap to our consoles because we see how it worked out for those add-ons.
Yeah, right.
So,
No kidding. That's a good way of putting it. All right, now the third thing that we're going to talk about, and this is March's buyer guide, and basically, just like I said at the top of the show, we're going to talk about the big games that are coming our way in March 2016, and I'm going to do them in order, uh, starting off with Far Cry Primal on PC, which has already come out. It came out on the 1st, so that was 2 days ago. Second game, Heavy Rain, coming to the PS4. Now that's a remastered game. It saw some pretty decent sales on the PS3, and a lot of people dug the game. I didn't play it. I know you didn't play it, Nate. Do you even know what it is?
yeah, I do. That is one of those games I'd really like to try out.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I played the demo back on the PS3, and it kind of wasn't for me. It's one of those games that have like branching paths depending on like what decisions you make and stuff like that. Which I mean, I don't know. Those games. I feel like they've always tried to really put the player in control, but at the end of the day, I never really felt like there were very many games that did it right. The only one I can think of that I really dug, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this game, Indigo Prophecy.
Yeah, Heavy Rain is made by the same people that did Indigo Prophecy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I played Indigo Prophecy. I really enjoyed that one too, which is why I want to play Heavy Rain because I know that type of game seems to be its own little genre, and it is kind of a niche thing. Not everyone's going to be into that, but it is something I want to look into.
Right. Third game coming out. This is a big one that I'm surprised you're not really hyped about. Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD is coming to Wii U on the 4th. Not excited about that one, are you?
I a little bit. I played that game when it originally came out, and I would really rather play Skyward Sword because I haven't played that one yet. And I also want to play the Wind Waker Remastered, which is already out, which I haven't been able to catch up on yet. So,
Yeah,
I don't
that
know if I'm ever going to be able to get to that one, so. But
when
I
I
would like to play it.
I was gonna say when I had my Wii U, I did play the Wind Waker remake, which is a really solid game, dude. Like I can definitely see why that game like scored perfect, 10 out of 10s on a lot of people's reviews. So next game coming out is The Division, coming out for PS4, Xbox One, and PC on. Well, I don't know if it's coming out on PC on the 8th, but it's coming out for PS4 and Xbox One on the 8th. Um, that's probably the biggest game of March, and that's going to be the game that I definitely purchase. I just don't know if I'm going to be getting it day one. I think this is a game that I need to know more about because the mechanics, when it comes to the high end content, you know, it plays basically the same way Destiny does, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't want to have to put a quote unquote raid group together. And this game match makes you with other players, so it takes that whole debacle out of it. So I think I'm pretty hyped for this game because of that. Because all I ever wanted Destiny to do is if I want to go do the Oryx raid, let me just match make with five other people. I don't want to have to go to a third party service to go find people to do a raid. You know what I mean? Like we've talked about that in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know the division doesn't really strike your fancy, correct?
Squad base cover shooter. Not really.
Not really. I played the beta and I didn't have that much interest in the game. I was curious, but then when I played the beta, it took me by surprise, a very pleasant surprise, and I think it's going to be the game that gets me back in the shooter. So we'll see what the reviews end up looking like. If the single player content is enough, then I'm definitely hyped for this game. So again, I think that's going to be the game that does the best in March. I think the sales are going to be through the roof, and I think that they have a hit on their hands. So, and again, that's another Ubisoft game, and they just put out Far Cry Primal. So, man, those guys are doing something right over at Ubisoft.
I don't know, man. I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I just got a feeling like that game, there's going to be something wrong with it.
You think
Because
so?
the only reason why I'm saying that, and I hope I'm wrong, because I never want a bad game to come out, and I don't want people to have bad experience. But they just released Far Cry Primal, and that's turning out to be a really solid game. So it's like, how are they doing this? How are they
Yeah.
putting out so many great games?
And do you think they dwarfed the Far Cry Primal sales because like the Division came out like 3 weeks later?
Well, I think they played a completely different audiences, so
Yeah, but
no.
whenever I go on like Reddit and stuff like that, I see a lot of people that were thinking about playing Primal, and then they're like, but the Division comes out pretty soon, so I think I'm just gonna save their money. So, and we're gonna talk about some Primal later, but for those people that are gonna skip out on Primal to play the Division, they are really missing out on a fantastic game.
So
So,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the division does.
yeah. Next game coming out, and it's coming out on PS4 and Xbox One, is Hitman, and it comes out March 11th. Now, Hitman is a game that's been around for seemingly forever. Um, Now, they tried to switch up the formula a little bit on this Hitman. So, the way this game is going to play out is it's going to come out in episodes. And I can't remember what the business model looks like on this game. I can't remember if it's a $60 game and then you're just getting the free DLC. But I know originally they tried to get a little funky with the price points. Um, what are your thoughts on that? I'm gonna try and Google this while you talk. So just talk to the camera, and I'll try and listen as hard as I can.
Okay, so I guess this will be an alright business model if the episodes are appropriately priced and you know, their complete cost isn't more than what the game would be at $60 retail and still given, a complete experience. So let's just hope that they don't go crazy with the pricing for these episodes and that each episode has got a fair amount of content in it. I mean, I hope it's not something like every episode is like one mission. You're going to end up paying $10 for it. That would be pretty jacked up, I would think.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, while we're on the subject of Hitman, it turns out that Hitman has an open beta that starts tomorrow on the PS4. So I'm kind of glad that I Googled this because I had no idea. um, let's see. Yeah, March 4th starts the beta. The beta will include the prologue missions available in the recent closed beta. Um, It should be noted that this is mostly an open beta on PS4. Um, you need to play PS Plus subscription to play. Um,
Do you
I'm
know
not.
how, I mean, the Hitman's coming out this month, right?
Yes.
And they still don't have a price point up for it. Or not a readily available one, I'm guessing.
Here we go. The game's most controversial aspect, however, has got to be its staggered content plan. The Hitman is releasing in stages with live limited time events between major missions. And apparently that has some people annoyed. Yeah, I can see people being annoyed for the limited timed events. I freaking hate that, dude. I almost dropped an F bomb, but I told myself I'm not going to do that. So, what do you think? What do you think about the limited timed event, bro? Like, let's talk about
I
that.
man, that's a whole other subject, but I think they're terrible. Like,
Yes.
one of the reasons why Destiny could not keep me interested, it was because a lot of my favorite game modes were limited time events, and I couldn't always play them. I couldn't always set up a Crucible match with like Rumble and have all this, whatever it was. They had that like Super Rumble, whatever, where you get like extra specials and all that. Like that was awesome. Like if I could do that every day, I would totally be doing that all the time. But it's only limited time, so after a while, I'm like, well, I can't do sparrow racing. I can't do this. Just forget it. I'm gonna go with something that's a little more consistent.
Yeah. I completely agree, dude. Like, I don't like when a game tells me when I have to play it. You know what I mean? Like, and generally that's like, oh, we're gonna have these events, and they seem to always be on the weekend. Now, what about the people, that work in retail? Like, that's when we're working, and for a lot of people, that's when they like to go out for a night on the town. Like the only people that are sitting home on the weekends playing this content are, let's face it, kids that still live in their parents' households, and like, so that's your audience. They're the ones you're rolling that content out for. Like, why alienate anybody? You know what I mean? Like, everybody should get a fair shake at that content. Like, I just totally, I hate that practice, man. I wish it'd go away, but I couldn't figure out if this is going to be a $60 game or not. So, uh, everyone, you might just have to Google that on your own because I can't get the information myself. Next game coming out, Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition is coming out on the 11th for Xbox One and PC. Um, I don't have much to say on that. Ori and the Blind Forest was an amazing indie game on the Xbox One, and a lot of people enjoyed it. I heard that it's a tearjerker. The art style is nothing short of amazing, and I'm sure, Nate, this is a game that you really wish you could be playing right now, too.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those check marks on getting an Xbox One.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the definitive edition, like, I didn't even know this game like had DLC or anything for it. Like, what makes this edition definitive? I guess maybe there was some DLC or
There's probably a little bit more polish on the game.
uh okay. Um so basically like a finished game.
Well, yeah, I mean, isn't that the state of the industry right now?
Yeah, no kidding.
Buy a game day one, it's like, oh, you almost got the finished game. Don't worry, a few more months later, we'll release the definitive edition that will have all those bugs cleaned up.
You almost put out a Nintendo quality type of game. Oh man. Sorry, I'm taking jabs. But seriously, developers, let's put out these games in, perfect fashion. Next game coming out, and I'm sure this doesn't speak to either of us, but I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that will dig. WWE 2016 on the PC comes out on the 11th. So,
Woo, yeah. I used to play those games way back in the day just because
man,
of the creative characters.
oh, the created characters, and for me, dude, the Royal Rumbles. Oh, man, clotheslining people out of the ring was my favorite thing to do back in the day.
There is some fun to be had in the WWE realm.
Yeah. The thing with WWE and like all that is like I just feel like it was it peaked when you had Macho Man Randy Savage and you had the Ultimate Warrior and you had Hulk Hogan, and they could just never find compelling enough new characters to throw into the mix. Like, you did have the era of The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Rikishi and all those guys, but since their era, who has come in new that is even worth mentioning other than John Cena? Seriously.
Uh, AJ Styles.
See that I don't know who that is.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on. EA Sports UFC 2 is headed to the PS4 and Xbox One on the 15th. And I'm hearing good things about this game. Like the first one came out, it was pretty cool. It had some bugs, it had some issues, but I think it was more or less like a proof of concept that they could put a good UFC game like on console. And I love watching the videos where the game would just glitch and like the guys would be fighting each other and one of them would be outside the octagon. Like, have you seen any of those like funny videos that
No,
they? Oh my
I
God,
haven't.
dude! Like, and they'd actually get who's the guy that does Joe Rogan? They'd actually get him to commentate over these glitches, and they had these videos. I think Kotaku's got some, but dude, they are worth checking out because they're hilarious. But yeah, UFC 2 is coming out, so get hyped for that, everybody, because it looks really solid. I'm sure any issues that the first one had, they fixed. And again, I've seen really good things about the game. Next game coming out is Need for Speed is coming to the PC, and this is the latest Need for Speed game, and it's coming out on the 15th. Seems kind of weird how long it's taken this to get to PC, and I don't suspect that it'll do too well. Need for Speed on the PS4 and Xbox One did not do too good in sales, and the reviews were decent at best. You know what I mean? Like, it's a racing game, and I feel like that genre as a whole, unless it's like top tier racers like Forza or Need for Speed, I just don't. There just doesn't seem to be a space for like mid tier, simulators or not even simulators, arcade style racers anymore. I feel like that's a dying genre. What do you think about that?
It it definitely is, but I'd like to see it make a comeback. I mean, man, I'm dying for a good racing game on my PlayStation 4, and I'm holding out for Gran Turismo whenever that comes.
Yeah, yeah. What I've always wanted on a Need for Speed game, because I used to love them back on the early PS2 days, and my favorite things to do on those games were like the cops and robbers mode, where like one of you has like a Ferrari and you're trying to get away from your friend who's in a cop car that's also a Lamborghini, and like those were the funnest things to do in those games, and they've tried to take them and put them into Xbox Live and on PSN and things like that, or places like that rather. And my problem with them is if I take a corner and you take a corner and you wreck and it takes you like 5 or 6 seconds to get back on the track. I hate how they do that thing where it's like rubber banding where you catch up like no matter,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that's stupid, and it's like I get penalized for driving well, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like I should blow you out of the water and I should win by however long I was going to win by, you know what I mean? Like I hate the rubber banding in those games.
Yeah, it was an alright mechanic when they first introduced it, but yeah, it doesn't hold up well today.
Yeah. Uh Next game I want to talk about, Hyrule Warriors Legends coming to the 3DS. That's on the 24th, and I asked you to Google this because I didn't even know what it was. And what did you find?
It's basically Hyrule Warriors for your 3DS, so it's a port of the Wii U game. The graphics look very solid, so if you're into the whole Dynasty Warriors experience with nice coat of Zelda paint, definitely pick it up.
Sounds good. Next game. This is a huge, huge, huge game. I didn't realize that it was coming out in March, but one thing to factor into this, um, the game is Adrift, which is one of the most awesome looking indie games I've ever seen, and it's kind of like a Firewatch, like it's like a walking simulator basically, but I mean it's a little bit more than that because you actually have to. It does have like gaming elements to it, but more or less it's like a visual presentation type of game that puts your character in outer space, and the space station that you're aboard has taken damage from. I want to say probably asteroids or something of that nature, or maybe a satellite hits it. I'm not quite sure on that, but you're basically trying to navigate through the space station and find your way to safety. Now, the game's coming out on the 28th for Rift and PC. Now, it's also coming out on consoles. I'm guessing that it isn't coming out on consoles because they're waiting for it to launch on the PlayStation VR. Is that your thoughts? Like,
Oh, most definitely. This looks like a game that was meant for VR. Like, if you want to show people what VR is capable of, this would be the game to do it with.
yeah, absolutely. I know that they had demos for PlayStation VR with this game, and I mean, if there were ever a game that you would want to launch alongside, your new PlayStation virtual reality home console, it's a game like this where there's like zero gravity and you're just floating around space, and you can literally look down in the VR world and look down on Earth and give you that weightless feeling. Like, this is the only game that I look at this in Valkyrie Chronicles where I'm like, oh man, I like it actually makes me hype for VR. Like, it seems really cool to do that in VR. Like what's your hype level for Adrift?
It's pretty high. Like, I don't really see myself buying it because I want to play it with VR, and I probably won't be able to afford VR for a very long time.
So it'll
But
probably be one of
if
those.
I
I was gonna say it'll probably be one of those situations where I buy the VR day one and you're at my house on launch day and we just we just play it.
Yeah, because I'm super excited to play it, and I want to sing its praises as like a triumph of what VR is capable of, and I just want to experience it. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, anybody that's listening that wants to do their research on the game, one thing to factor in that the game is spelled ADR1FT. It's not an I, it's a 1. So, um, next game is Killer Instinct Season 3 is coming to PC and Xbox One on the 29th. Um, Neither one of us have an Xbox One, so neither one of us will be playing that. Um, Probably still a better game than Street Fighter 5. That's sad when Killer Instinct is probably better than Street Fighter, right?
Yeah, well, Killer Instinct's been out since Xbox One came out, so.
Yeah, true. True. They've had time to innovate. Two more games on the list to round it out. MLB The Show 2016 is headed to PS4 and PS3 only because that is a PlayStation exclusive. It is a lot of people that are big baseball fans that aren't on the PlayStation are envious because apparently like this is the definitive baseball game to play in the video game world. So if you're into baseball and you want to play a good baseball game, I've heard amazing things about it. Like, you want to talk about a pretty sports game. I know you've seen trailers, right, Nate?
I have not.
Oh, you haven't? I mean, the visual presentation on the game is top notch. Like, you've seen the NBA, 2K16 games. I know you have. Like, it looks every good as bit as that, if not better. And
Wow, that's impressive.
yeah, that's definitely quite a boast there. But the last game to round out March's Buyer's Guide, and it's a game that we talked about last week, and that's Resident Evil 6 Remaster coming to the PlayStation 4 on the 29th, and Nate could not be more hyped because this is his favorite Resident Evil game of the series.
Oh, so much sarcasm there. Oh. I never played 6, and I don't plan on it.
Oh man. Yeah, yeah, if you like good games, then don't buy this game, I would say. Like, we are trying to tell our audience what they should spend their money on in March, and I mean, you can easily miss this game. You really won't be missing out on much, you know. I mean, that's my opinion, and everything's subjective anyway, but that's my honest opinion. Like, you could definitely skip this game. It came out and made next to no waves. Nobody really cared about it except people that were critiquing how bad it was. Like, you know, it's a game that doesn't need to exist. Is that your overall opinion on it as well?
Oh yes, yes, very much so. Don't even bother. Unless you're just an absolute diehard Resident Evil fan, there is no reason to pick that game up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, I hope somebody was able to take something away from this list. I hope that everyone likes this new segment. I know I like doing the segment because there's a lot of games on this list that I wasn't even aware. Like Adrift, for instance, I didn't know that it was making its way on the PC. Um, I totally forgot about the Zelda Twilight Princess HD remix coming out. Like, I think this will be a good segment to do every month. So that was March's Buyer's Guide. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about, and Nate, I'm going to let you roll it out, is what we've been playing. So why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what you've been working on lately, Nate? What have you been chipping away at?
All right. Well, since the beginning of the year, I've been playing 3 different games, and I'll go over them very quickly because I got a lot to say about each one. First of all, I've been playing a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5, which is fantastic. So much content, so well polished. Everyone already knows it's awesome. If you're not playing it, you should be playing it. And I'm gonna have a nice editorial for everyone coming up, and hopefully the next couple of weeks after I get some more content done with, and we'll have a nice little discussion on some of the finer points of that game. I've also been playing Final Fantasy Explorers, which is a pretty decent game. It is, for those who don't know, it's just a Monster Hunter with Final Fantasy themes, which I'm a-okay with. I really like the Monster Hunter formula, and I really like Final Fantasy. So if you're into those two games, this is definitely a great mashup of those two intellectual properties. So definitely check that out. And the last game that I've been playing that is ruining my life. I'm losing a lot of sleep to this game. It is Pokemon Red for the original Game Boy, which was recently released on the eShop. I picked it up for pure nostalgic value. I hadn't actually touched the game since I was 12 years old when Pokemon first came out 20 years ago. And I gotta say, it sucked me right back in, and I'm having an absurd amount of fun playing a 20-year-old, basically 8-bit video game. So, yeah, I'm not too proud of myself to have already put so much time into the game in so few days, but what can I say? I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Well, that's what it's all about, man. That's why we do this podcast, because of our love for video games. So no shame in that game, dude. No shame at all.
So what about you, Jay? What have you been playing?
So there's really been only one game on my list that I've been chipping away at since its recent release, and that is Far Cry Primal. And you know, like I've said in other podcasts, I'm a huge Far Cry fan, and I think I can officially say, because you know, I've probably got about 25 to 30 hours, I would say. Yeah, probably about that. I can officially say it's my favorite Far Cry in the series. And that is a huge statement because I love Far Cry 3 so much. But what I really like about Primal is it doesn't ever try to get fancy. And what I mean by that is the game just focuses on like putting you in this world where, you know, all these obscure things are happening, like saber-tooth tigers are attacking you, and you know, rare leopards are attacking you, and you know, there's these tribes out there that are trying to kill you around every corner, and it's like I think the game just focuses on putting you in this world and letting you have fun with it and letting you just explore it. The game's at its best when you just get lost in it. And you know, you don't want to play this game like you would a normal type of video game. What you really want to set out to do is you want to look at, some of the weapons and upgrades that you can get and just go farm the materials. Like, say that the story is the game's strong suit. Like, I can't even really tell you what's going on in that world whatsoever. It's almost like this podcast. It's superficial when it comes to those, finer details, and like the game's just about getting lost in the world, dude. It really is. And like, who gives a shit about the story, man? You're in the jungle, and there's these crazy animals and crazy everything wants to kill you basically. And it's just about taming all those animals and using them at your disposal to kill the tribes people. So, does that sound enticing to you?
Very much so. I got like any game that has such a great emphasis on exploring like a lush world is gonna draw me in. And I did get to spend just the tiniest taste of time with the game with you yesterday, and I really, really liked what I saw. This is definitely a game that I want to pick up. And the biggest draw to me, and I think should be for a lot of people, is that this is not something we get to see a lot of in the gaming industry. This is prehistoric times. There hasn't been a video game like this since like the 16-bit era. Have we visited prehistoric times in video games? And I think they've done a very great job with representing that, as historically accurate as we could possibly imagine. So, yeah, I just think it looks incredible. I really want to get it like now.
Yeah, a question that you like have kept on asking me as I've, continued to put more time in the game is like, how do they keep the game fresh, and how do, do the environments change, and is that an issue? And again, now that I've spent 30 hours, I can officially say that not an issue. Now, there's not a whole lot of variety in the areas that you go to, but it doesn't seem to matter. I mean, you're in the jungle, and then sometimes you're in like just a big open, like vast, like area where there's not a whole lot of vegetation, and like, it's just a lot of flat land and marshes and ponds and lakes, and none of it none of it feels samey. I mean, even though again there's not a whole lot of variation, it's believable, and I think that's what I like the most, that they never set out to be like, oh, let's make this area look like way different than the last one. No, they didn't do that, and they didn't have to do that. You're in the fucking woods. What can I say? You know what I mean? And then the times that it does kind of switch up that formula is when you go higher up in elevation, where you now have to worry about snow, and that's actually a mechanic in the game that I'm going to let everyone discover for themselves, and I don't want to ruin it because it's such a cool mechanic. I mean, I'm sure you can kind of figure out what the mechanic is, when you're dealing with elevation, but again, I don't want to spoil it for everyone because it's so cool. um, there was something that I want to tell you about, Nate, but I was waiting for this particular episode because I wanted the conversation to be fresh when we talked about it, and I wanted you to be just as surprised as everyone else. There's a mission, and it's not a spoiler to the game whatsoever. I mean, it's really hard to spoil this game because, again, like the story's not that great. Um, but the mission is a side mission where you have to go hunt a saber-toothed tiger. Now, the most fun that I've ever had in a video game happened in Far Cry Primal when I had to go hunt the saber-tooth, because it wasn't as simple as just going to the area where the saber-tooth is known to prowl. You have to go at night, because saber-tooths are sleeping during the day apparently. So it's kind of like cool to be, out in the woods at night, having to use your club on fire so you can, search the area. And then you have to go into your hunter vision and find the tracks to the saber tooth. So as you're following these tracks, you're you're finding like dead bodies or dead animals along the way, and you investigate those. And Takar, which is your hunter, he'll say things like, "Oh, he just fed, which means he's probably slowing down, and this carcass looks pretty fresh, so he's probably pretty close in the air." So the game's giving you these hints, and that's where the story is for me. In this game, like just hunting these animals and like just getting that experience, and then you can set traps along the way, and you can use animals that you've tamed to help you hunt out this animal and attack the animal, and then like the traps that you set, the saber-tooth tiger will get caught in those traps so you can DPS it while it's stuck. And then what's really cool too is that if you die, when you come back, that animal still has the same amount of damage that it did when you were attacking it. So it's not like it just magically healed itself, you know what I mean? So that's pretty cool too. And if you're not able to kill the animal by the time the sun rises, that animal will disappear, and you'll have to go back to your village, rest up, and continue the hunt when nightfall sets in. So now that I've kind of laid that out for you, let's unpack it and tell me what you think about what I just explained.
That sounds pretty cool. I don't want to say too much about it. My impressions, though, are that, that's a pretty neat game mechanic. Is that kind of how all the hunting missions go? You track them down and
Not
find
on.
them?
I was gonna say not on all the animals, but like some of the more the key animals, like with the saber tooth you can mount it, with the bear you can mount it. Like it's almost like you have, let's say, 12 different animals in the game, and each one has its own unique special abilities. Like some will be like more stealthy animals that you might want to bring with you if you're going to a stronghold where there's a lot of tribesmen in the village. So stealth, you want to take out as many as you can before shit hits the fan. And so it's good to kind of bring those stealthy types of animals with you. But if you want to just like say that your next objective is, you know, way across the map, and you have no fast travels, like it's good to be able to mount that animal and just truck right through all that landscape. And something to factor in too is while you're mounted on the back of a saber tooth, you still have access to your melee weapons. You still have access to your bow and arrow and like ranged weapons, and you can use them while mounting the animals. And not only can you do that, but you can attack with the animal. It's R3 on the DualShock 4 controller. You just hit R3 and you can maul down these tribes people. It's crazy, dude. Like this game continues to blow me away, and every time I say I'm gonna get on for like a quick 2-hour session, that easily turns into 3 or 4 hours.
It does sound really fun, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it.
And like you said, it's been a while since we've had a game that we can just go to this crazy, period in time and just get lost in the world. Like every game, like tends to try to outdo itself. Like a good example is like the Assassin's Creed series. They try to put so many NPCs on screen at once and just like get really technical with it. Like how about you just have a game that you can get lost in, and who cares about, how many, player count are on screen at once? Like, let's stop worrying about the numbers. Let's stop worrying about how many different components it has to it. Let's just build an interesting world and drop us in it and let us explore it. That's all I want.
Right on, brother.
So yeah, that's my look into Far Cry Prime. I'm not gonna say anything else about it. I know you're gonna play it, so I'm gonna let you figure out the rest on your own. Oh, I did tell you that I got to hunt a mammoth, which was also awesome. And you get introduced to even some more like components, and it's kind of late game content, and I'm surprised that so late in the game that they're still like implementing new things that you can do in the world. And it's like, wow, I thought I learned everything there was to do in this world, but I was wrong. And you know, I plan on reviewing this game, but I'm sure everyone can kind of figure out by the way I'm talking about that it's going to be a pretty high score. So look for that review. You know, coming out on PC again. It just came out 2 days ago on PC. Get this game, like in terms of wrapping that into that buyer guide. Like, don't let Far Cry Primal skip on anybody that's into open world games that you can just lose yourself in. So yeah, there we go. That's what I've been playing. Anything else you want to talk about, Nate? Before I close the show out, pretty long show this week.
Yeah, I think we covered a fair amount of content this week.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I said, at the top of every month, we're going to do these larger shows so we can get the buyer's guide in there and give everybody some insight. I hope everyone enjoyed that segment. Did you enjoy that segment, Nate?
I did enjoy that segment.
Well, that's good. If you did, I think everybody would, because you're a pretty smart guy. Well, that being said, everybody, thank you for joining us on the best show we've ever done, in my opinion. I say that every week, though. Episode number 7 of Let's Hash It. To close out the show, I just wanted to let viewers know that we are now on SoundCloud. So if you're on the go and you want to, listen to our podcast, head over to SoundCloud.com and look for us. Extremely Decent Games over there on SoundCloud. And in the future, we hope to get on, Google Play and what's the other one? What's the
iTunes.
Yeah, there we go. Apple's iTunes. So we hope to be everywhere in the future, but we're working on it. We're always trying to better ourselves. Everybody in life should try and better themselves. So again, thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you next week. Peace out, guys.